So you've completed your face-to-face appointment. Your primary care physician documented your symptoms and agrees you need to be evaluated for sleep apnea. Sounds like you're getting closer to a CPAP, right? Not quite. Now comes the sleep study, the second step in the entire process. Your primary care physician refers you to a sleep doctor who specializes in sleep disorders. It is this sleep doctor who will order the sleep study. There are two main ways to test for sleep apnea. The first is a home sleep study. You sleep in your own bed while wearing a small device that monitors your breathing, oxygen levels, and heart rate. A home sleep study can cost tremendously high. The second is an overnight sleep study in a sleep lab, where technicians monitor you with additional sensors throughout the night. Which one you'll need depends on your medical history, symptoms, and sometimes your insurance. The average cost for a sleep lab study is $3,000. Here's where things start getting frustrating. Home study isn't always enough. If the results don't provide enough information, or if your medical history requires a more detailed evaluation, you may have to complete an overnight sleep lab study instead. So one test can turn into two, also raising the cost to the patient. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the first study wasn't enough to satisfy the requirements. Apnea-hypopnea index, or also known as the AHI, is the measure of how many apnea episodes you have per hour. If you have an AHI of 15 to 30 or more than 30 events per hour, you have moderate or severe sleep apnea and can qualify for a CPAP machine. But if you have between 5 to 15 events, you are diagnosed with mild sleep apnea. Depending on your symptoms and insurance, you may need additional documentation or testing before a CPAP is covered. If you have Medicare, there are even more requirements. Your sleep study must meet Medicare's coverage guidelines, and all of the documentation has to match what your physician recorded during your face-to-face visit. The sleep study also has to be completed within 6 months of that visit, or you'll have to start the whole process over. If you don't meet Medicare's compliance requirements after receiving your CPAP, you may have to repeat the entire process. While your initial evaluation can often be done with a home sleep study, Medicare generally requires an in-lab sleep study if you have to requalify. In other words, it's not enough to know you have sleep apnea. You have to prove it again, exactly the way Medicare requires. Commercial insurance plans often have more flexibility and may allow you to continue from where you left off instead. This happens because insurance requires very specific documentation and as well as coverage policies that you fall under. The entire process doesn't even improve your sleep, but it determines if the insurance can even cover your therapy. Or, if you'd rather skip the circus entirely, there's the CPAP box. No insurance approvals, no prior authorization, no endless waiting. With a valid prescription, you can rent a CPAP machine for just $29.99 per month. Cancel at any time. If you also need the supplies, such as the CPAP mask, tubing, headgear, and filters, the CPAP box can also provide that for $25.99 per month. We generally ship the same or next business day. Return your CPAP at any time to cancel the service. Visit www.thecpapbox.com to get started. Sleeping can be hard. Getting a CPAP shouldn't be. On the next episode, we will be covering the prescription process required before you send it over to the DME.